Hey, great to be here. This is Paul Thompson. I'm 67 years old, and I'm at my 5,000th Frisbee tournament in Santa Cruz. It's so great being here, and the backdrop of the ocean and the pine trees and all of my family. And I'm seeing people that I haven't seen for 40 years when I really first got involved in competitive Frisbee back in 75, 76, 77. So for me, this is like the tournament that I was hoping to have in Santa Barbara 4 years ago, and then I broke my knee and I missed my first tournament, in 35 years. So going back to the beginning of flying discs, Wham-O came out with Pluto platters in 57. I got one, I got two. It might have been a Mars platter, it might have been a Pluto platter, and they were on the bench in the porch, with the footballs and the baseballs and the croquet set and the badminton set, and it was just one of the things that we did. And we started playing golf right away by just hitting objects on summer vacation. Going to the dock, we'd throw them into the lake, we'd chase them in the water, dogs would chase them. So all the things that people do with the Frisbee now, we did that with the old school discs. But it wasn't really until college at Gustavus Adolphus College, I joined the IFA because I thought it was a cool thing. And it had been going on for a while because my number was 57331. So almost 60,000 people had already joined the IFA. And I said, well, let me take a couple of Frisbees with me. And I graduated from college and went into the Peace Corps in Malaysia. Taught school in Borneo for 3 years. And I had these two discs. And then my brother, Tommy, who I'm going to see next week, who lives in San Marino, he sent me a box of 24 regular Frisbees. They were blue, they were yellow, they were red. So I had 8 of each. And I started giving those away and playing with them and realizing, wow, this is a magical sport. And it was the flight of the disc and the way that things moved. And now even today, Joey Hodacklin said all the freestyle this year, or out here now, is all of this awesome, in tight moves. But what really draws people to the sport of Frisbee is the flight of the disc and watching it move and dance with the air. And he thanked me for my freestyle routine with 1977 style of old school. And it just reminded me of how important it is to just be who you are, and you don't have to be any different than, like somebody else, but you can just do what you love and do it the best you can. So for 5 years I was in Asia, and my friend Warren Mullen, who now lives out here in Marin County, he came over and he was a good player. We had a pro, and we would throw the Frisbee and draw crowds of at least 1,000 kids in the villages, in the beaches of Indonesia and Laos and Burma, and we would just draw people together. And I saw, okay, this is magical stuff. So I kept playing. Warren had to go home. I traveled through India and Nepal and South and Sri Lanka and Afghanistan for like another year. On my way home, coming back to the United States after 5 years, on the flight, I pick up a Sports Illustrated copy, and in it is the article about Victor Malafronte and John Kirkland talking about playing with the Harlem Globetrotters. And I think, what? The Harlem Globetrotters? They were doing halftime shows? And I still have that article, and now John has signed it because he stayed with me last year. And I heard about, competitive Frisbee, and I figured I was the best Frisbee player in the world because I could do all this stuff with a pro. So I come home in 1975 and start the Minnesota Frisbee Association with Lyle Jensen and Jim Chalice and a bunch of folks in Minnesota. Then that year we had the Vinya tournament where 16 boxes of 100 Frisbees each showed up in our backyard. And my mom all of a sudden wasn't such a big fan of Frisbees. She had to store 1,600 Vinya flat top fastbacks. That led me to go to Copper Harbor, the Upper Peninsula, Michigan Frisbee IFT, big guts tournament. I'd never played guts Frisbee before. And I just loved it because it was super competitive and everybody was playing really hard. I met Dan Roddick, I met Irv Kalb, I met Ed Hedrick, I met Ken Westerfield. I'm not sure Victor was there. And then the topping moment was they had an accuracy contest. And it was just a hula hoop. And you got 3 throws, and people were making one once in a while. I get up and I make all 3. And then John Kirkland comes up later, he makes all 3. So, we had a playoff. So hundreds of people are gathered around us. I make all 3 in the playoff. So does he. And then we look at each other. And I got this one picture of me bending down with my white Frisbee hat on, and the disc is skipping off the bottom of the hoop and going in. So in the second playoff, I made 1, he made 2. He wins. Ed Hedrick comes up and says, you know what, I think you should come to the Rose Bowl. So that was that, and I did the Rose Bowl in 75, 76, 77. My greatest regret was my world-class master, I couldn't get the last skip shot to bounce up and be caught, so I never passed that test. That was the big thing in 75. And then I've just been playing Frisbee since then, organizing tournaments, and then trying to bring in this kind of element of how do we make the world a better place through play, which is an obvious thing. If you play and you have friends, you treat each other nicely. So we've been doing the Save the Children auction for 34 years. We've raised $30,000, $40,000 for kids around the world. Now Mindy and I are doing Cool Planet, and Cool Planet is about neighborhood fun, action for the planet, and having people realize that we only have one planet, and that if we take care of that planet, we can actually continue to do the things that we love. But even today, I find we need to engage people on a deeper level of what does it mean, to be engaged. So tomorrow we're having people from Santa Cruz coming up from the Citizen Climate Lobby, the group that Mindy and I are regional coordinators for, and they'll be here with a table, hopefully to engage some of our Frisbee family in taking a deeper action, on solutions. Because we got a lot of great things coming our way if we can all kind of do the right thing, with caring for our planet. So, and now we've got people like Rob McLeod, who's regenerating this interest in keeping our sport alive, because a lot of the players that are getting old don't see the pathway, to reinvigorating our sport. And last night, I actually felt the energy shift a little bit when I look at Jack and Tom and Tobias and these young players and Sam Kay. So we now have, I think, the skeleton of an organization that can really do the kind of work in schools and communities to bring back the passion for overall play and to link it with golf and ultimate and freestyle that have strong organizations. So I'm a believer in we can do this, but it's going to take all of us working together. But it starts with the love of the flight. So that's the long, short story of PT Fly Disc. Go play.